All right, you guys. I want to now unpack family legacy. If legacy is something that is so essential to the family unit, what we do today basically is going to echo generations from now. And so legacy is so important. And I want to, Andrea, I'm going to ask Nate this question. Nathaniel, how has our family shaped who we are today?
Our family established norms um, within you think about families and you think about communities and you think about cities, you think about counties and you think about nations and you think about international relations. I mean, trust me, they're down to that family unit, the norms of the family unit can tie into or as well as contradict other social norms. Just to interact, just to live around other people, you got to have social norms, you got to have cultures. So our family established social norms, expectations. We've had conversations that other members of our national community don't have to have, but we've had to have, and we've had similar conversations that everybody across America is having. So um, it established social norms, but the foundation of faith in our family, I think, was very critical in our development community. So, as well as what I've been harping on a lot, and both of y'all kind of alluded to. Um, to me, it's the hugest thing, right? Because our culture does not have initiations, which a lot of cultures usually have to mark the transition. You look at the bar mitzvah for Jewish, and there's a number of cultures that will have initiations or at least mark transitions. For U.S. folks, it's when you get your driver's license, when you're old enough to work, when you're old enough to have a drink, that kind of thing. But I think globally, regardless of culture, regardless of norms, your ability to forgive the imperfections of that core family is crossing the line. That's crossing the burning sands. That's that's a crossover to mark your initiation into adulthood. Is when you're able to look at the imperfections of the people that you held in the highest esteem, that hurt you the deepest because they were the closest to you and all those things, and to see their imperfections and to be like, you know what? I got some of my own, so I can find a little bit more forgiveness down inside. It don't mean I'm gonna let you keep on, hurting me, because now I'm responsible for myself. But I understand the imperfection of humanity, and I'm about to move on because I got stuff I want to do with my life. I got places I want to go if there's an ambition. So that those things I think are what shapes not just us as siblings, but siblings all across this globe.
No, us.
That's awesome.
No,
That's
that's what our
huh?
parents required. They required forgiveness, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where the family meetings took place.
That's
When
how the
mama,
family room started.
that literally, all hearts clear. You
Yeah,
cannot leave
that's
from
how
that
the family
environment
room.
unless you talked it
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Nate
Yeah.
is dead on. That is what bonds us as siblings. And a lot of families are not having those tough conversations. Either they're having it and they're being fake about it, or they're avoiding altogether. And I meant to tell you that, Nate. Yes, you were the one that taught me that the biggest lesson of forgiveness is the forgiveness of parents.
Mm-hmm.
You taught me that. Once you forgive your parents, like you're level completed. Now you go into the next level.
It frees you up, because the problem with not forgiving people, and it starts with your family cell that you grew up with, because that is such a formative time in your life that it's easy for the, and I'm no psychologist, but in my mind, and please correct me in the comments or direct me to a book that can better explain it if I'm in error, but in my mind it makes the most sense that the injuries you suffer in those most formative years are the ones that have the most powerful ability to imprison you psychologically, emotionally, and keep you trapped. And the thing is that that prison is not a locked prison. It's a prison that we maintain for ourselves because we choose not to see the humanity and the imperfection in the people that hurt us, and move the
Move
heck
on.
on.
Move on.
Like that's the, you're not forgiving them to let them be okay with the hurt they did to you. That's not the point of the forgiving. The point of the genuine forgiveness, whether they accept it or they feel like they were in error or not, is that not only because you're imperfect, you're going to jack up some stuff, um, and you would want forgiveness as well. But it's more so that you can move on. If you don't do that, if you don't go through the burning, the hazing, it's like hazing. It's like hazing your psyche into that organization or into that next level of thinking. You're putting it through a lot of little shenanigans and torture, because you're saying, look at this person, they ain't perfect, this is not Jesus on earth, like they're imperfect, and your expectations when you was a child holding them up on that pedestal was not realistic, and it was completely inappropriate, and now you're grown and you need to forgive them so you can move on. But if you can't, you're going to keep on blaming that person for why you are the way you are, when it's not their fault anymore, because you grown now. You grown.
And you're
You know.
going to keep in cycles. You're going to keep staying in cycles in an unhealthy relationship with that person as well,
Yeah.
because you have not forgiven them and released them. Can you go back to an unlocked prison, the door being wide open? People are stuck there. They're
Yeah.
like that's where it is. You got 60-year-olds. And this is the part. I know we're talking about our sibling relationship, but I just want to add that it's once my parent became accountable, that helped me to cross those sands. It gave me encouragement to cross the sands. Some people
Mm-hmm.
don't even have the parent to do that. So, Nate, what would you say to the siblings that the parent is not being accountable? What is that first step to get out of that prison?
I
Just the
think
first one. Just the first step.
I think that's very tough for me to answer. I don't know that I necessarily have the skill set to be an authority or having studied that or whatever the case might be. But I will say for me, and I know some people aren't Christians, and I know that that's not the religion for everybody, and I'm fine with that. I really am. But for me, it was when I got saved and I gave my life to Christ, Him loving me in the state that I'm in and was in. It didn't make sense. Like, how can perfection love imperfection, right? And so it was humbling in the sense that I can't get it right, and that's okay. But if I can't get it right because I'm in this flesh, my dad is in flesh, my mama's in flesh, my uncle's in like it's a bunch of people walking around who can't get right and taking it. So I think that's the first step for me was, and so when I got saved, one of the things seeking God's face was, and I'm like I'm like Stephen Harvey. God's still working on me, so don't get it twisted. I ain't no, don't put me on no pedestal. But so one of the things that happened for me when I was seeking God's face when I initially got saved was that as I was looking and seeking God's face, His will, His character, like just who He is, you end up looking into, not, for me, it was not literally, but figuratively, into His eyes, and kind of like seeing my reflection in me, of me looking at Him. And it was like, he was googly eyed, you know. He was googly eyed, and he was just like, man, I'm so in love with this dude. I'm like, I'm loving this dude. Me, I can't comprehend what he sees in me, right? But when I start looking at myself through his eyes, then I start falling in love with that. So the initial way for those who are Christians is to really come to terms with what Jesus Christ sacrificed for you on the cross, so that you can be reunited in a relationship with God the Father, because He
Mm-hmm.
loves you so much, right? He loves you. Yes, Jesus sacrificed Himself, but don't forget, the reason why He did that is because He's in love with you. And so I think that can be a starting point for some Christians.
That's good, Nate.
That's so good. And then for the
That's real good.
non-believers, it's just understanding that we're so imperfect. We are imperfect people that
Yeah.
didn't come into this world with manuals. There was no directions on
Yeah.
how to treat us and set us up. So we're bound to make mistakes. Your parents are bound to make mistakes. You're bound to make mistakes to other people. When you have kids, you'll make mistakes with them because they didn't come with manuals. It's like trying to put a bookshelf together, put a refrigerator together, put a stove together without instructions.
Yeah.
You're gonna miss some screws, some bolts. You're gonna miss something. And you're gonna want to still be proud or still be able to use those things, right? You're still going to want to be able to, for those things to be able to function. So it's the same way with looking at your parents, looking at your siblings. We are bound to offend. The Bible says offense will come, but it's up to us to operate in forgiveness. And the other thing, Tracy, I'm gonna let you move on. But the other thing I love about us, because some people have to forgive alone, but for us, we lean into tough conversations. We don't run from them.
Yep.
And that's the part that I truly love about our siblinghood. That's the part I really love, is that we can. I could tell Nate. Nate could tell me you went too far. That was too much, Drea. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I got to bark out justifications as to why he shouldn't say that to me. I expect for my brother and my sisters to keep me in correction, and they allow me to do it to them. We build
Yeah.
up, we don't tear
That's
down.
good.
I just
That's good.
for the and I just want to piggyback on that for the non-believers, because I mean, I don't have, like Drew, I'm glad you brought that up, Drew, because I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. I know what I believe, but at the end of the day, I ain't judging. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. But for the believer, I think it starts with a desire. I think it starts with a desire to move on. But here's the tricky part. Here's the tricky part. Sometimes, and again, take this with a grain of salt, but sometimes, because of what we experience, and we all experience something in those formative years, if we do not cross those burning sands into adulthood, somewhere maybe late teens, and at some point in our adult life, I mean, it could be 50s, whenever, but at least start, as early as like late teens. If we don't cross those burning sands and genuinely forgive the immediate family or the immediate people that was in our upbringing, then we start to something about the cognitive dissonance about our imperfection, realizing that and holding those people who we grew up with to a higher standard of perfection than we can possibly hold ourselves to. That something about that cognitive dissonance, I think, forces us to double down on the trauma and begin to make it the identity of, like, it's not just why I am, but it becomes who I am. Like, I can't imagine myself being anything other than this. In fact, I'm terrified at what tomorrow looks like if I let this trauma go. Like, I'm terrified of it because it's so unknown. And I'm 35 now, or I'm 45 now, or I'm 65 now. I've been holding this grudge
So long,
for so long.
it becomes your identity. And instead
Yeah,
of trauma happened to you, you think that it is you.
right, right.
Mhm.
And that's not the case. I always tell my kids, don't let your feelings create a false reality.
Mm, because it will.
There's so much more on the other side. There is so much more on the other side for yourself, for going to legacy, go for the kids, for your children, your children's children, and then for the people that are watching. That's not in your bloodline. You bless them too when you cross the sands. But go
Right.
ahead, Trey.
Yeah. Well, this is what the family room is all about. I'm enjoying the conversation. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Andrea, um, what are some family traditions we have? I really want to encourage families to. I think that some families have kind of gotten away with certain things, and I think that technology. We've become more distant as families, even as siblings, and so. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, this really can apply to families as a whole, but for us, like I remember something Dad said to us years ago. He says it every once in a while. He was like, "Your mother's no longer here, and when I'm gone, all you have is each other." And that's something that has always stuck with me concerning my siblings. And so, if you could just share some of the family traditions and what we do as a family.
So, on a big scale, on a larger scale, Christmas is our thing. Whatever it looks like, all of us may not be able to gather every year, but we can pretty much bank on somebody doing something every year. Now we're trying to transition into traveling for Christmas, but for the past 2 decades or more, it's either Tracy's house or my house, or you know, that's pretty much it. Either Tracy's house or my house. Lately, it's been my house. Um, we just created a new tradition for Candy's kids, which is around the time of Mom's passing. We as siblings have been um, kind of dealing with that separately for 20 years. So we collectively decided to try to change that time of year for us and actually come together on that weekend, or that day, around that day. So last year was our first year doing it. So every year we're going to try to do something. Um, you can call it a family reunion. You can call it that, what you want to call it. We just call it Candy's Kids Weekend. We are Candy's kids, us and our children, and we just kind of come together. Um, and then from there, I don't know if this is considered a tradition, but I just appreciate our WhatsApp chat. No matter where we are in the world, we can use that platform. Everybody understands that that platform is to announce things that are going on in our family, to announce family announcements. So I would assume that that is a tradition, maybe. Okay,
I mean, it strengthens the family. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. That's fine.
those
Now, don't get it twisted. We are, we're very connected, but we have very busy.
that's the best way to stay connected.
We respect each other's space. That's another thing I love about us. There's some families that they just like all in each other's business and da 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 da. We don't even move like that. Thank God.
And if we try to, we trust each other to be like, whoa, 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 pump your brakes. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we be like, oh,
Right.
my bad, you right.
Right. Exactly. So it's like it's a very, I think that's one of the things I find very unique about our bond is the fact of how close we are, but then at the same time we're still pretty private separately as well. And so you know, we share when it's time to share, and then we move when we're doing our own thing when it's time to do our own thing. And so I love that balance between us.
Can I add that we also, I love, I don't know if this is worth adding and you can take it out, but I love how we make sure our children, well, I know me and Tracy do, we make sure that our children know to take care of Uncle Nate. That,
Yes.
like that's drilled
Yeah.
in their head. My girls know
Yeah.
Uncle Nate is like ranked with dad. And if he lets them, because look at him, he's not gonna let them. You see his face. However, that ranking of how
Yeah.
we drill it in our kids to say, hey, it's not even really Uncle Nate, it's really Tracy, the aunties, but because Nate doesn't have his own children, our children are his children, and we
Yeah.
drive that into them like that should. We don't say daddy uncle, we just say that's Uncle Nate. If something happens, go, and they know to go. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
another tradition, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to bring up because we're also teaching the next generation how to stay connected. Like I
Right,
look at there's going to be I look at the dynamics of Ashley and Alicia and their relationship and the relationship that my sons have with each other.
right,
Like you literally see that love is an asset in our family. From our, I call us Gen twos. My dad is Gen one. We're Gen twos. They're the Gen threes, and then I have a great I have a grandchildren that are coming, that a grandchild coming. I already have another grandchild. So they're Gen fours. And so we're seeing the fruit of the fact that we set the example of being loving siblings. Now don't get it twisted. We when we were younger, we didn't always have it right. There were days, baby. There was days. But nevertheless, we knew and understood that what was important, and that was to support and to love each other. And so that example is very much set, and that's the standard for this family, as siblings, and our children know that as well. Um, this is a tough question, but I feel like it's important to ask because of the broadcast. Are any of you ready for one of us to pass away? Are you preparing yourself emotionally for that to take place? For one of us to pass away first. I think it's always like I remember that with dad the first time his sibling passed away, his first sibling, and what that was like for him. So, have any of you all thought about that? And if so, what are your thoughts?